Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the Tanchjim ZERO. I was kind of hoping that I would have received by now the other Zero, which is the current collaboration one. The truth is, however, unfortunately, the postal services here in Portugal are something to be desired, and I am now waiting for it for 17 days. I've been waiting for it now, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, that's the story for another time. Tanchjim ZERO, the latest from Tanchjim. Those that know me, that follow me, know that I'm a big fan of Tanchjim. Very big fan. Actually, let's say my first more serious IM was the Tanchjim Oxygen, and I still have it as one of my reference single DD IEMs. That the Aureolus Isabelli, those two are the IEMs in terms of single DD that I consider to have the perfect sound for me, for my genre of music. For me, those are what I compare other single DDs to. And when I tinker around making my own DDs and everything, I always kind of use those two as a reference. Anyway, enough rambling about stuff which doesn't really interest. Tanchjim ZERO, the latest from them, really cheap, $14. Box is a reflection of that. A simple package, doesn't really bring anything that would be normal for the price. Inside there's a sleeve which opens up nicely, actually. Tips in abundance, some paperwork, cloth carrying case. Really, for the $14 that this costs, it's fine. It really is fine. There's really nothing more that could be asked. The tips are wide bore and narrow bore. They more than suffice. Although I'm not actually using those tips, but I'll get into that in just a second. And then it brings some technical characteristics here, the graph, and so on and so forth. That's that. Where's the IM? Well, here's the IM. Here's the Zero. It's a bullet style, as you can see. The back of, well, in terms of left right, it's very difficult to identify them, so the easiest is actually to just look at the back of the IMs. Zero will be the left side, the one which has the logo will be the right side. The driver inside seems to be I cannot guarantee, but it seems to be a driver which is similar to the driver used in the Olá, which is another single DD budget IEM that Tanchjim launched a couple of months ago. Well, let's talk the rest about the fitment and so on and so forth. Construction is very simple. It's plastic, it's very light. In terms of the fit and comfort, well, it's a bullet, so the tips will be the ones that are dependent on how well they stay put. And in this particular case, I want to say straight away that the best results will be had if you are able to insert this really deeply into your ear canal. So if you are able to do something with the Zero which follows the philosophy of the etymatics, then this IM is one that I recommend. The $14 is not going to break it. It's not going to break the bank. It's a meal at McDonald's. Get this. Put the tips that allow the fixation to the ear canal to be good, and really shove them inside of your ears if you are able to do that, because the sound will amaze you. That's it. It's as simple as that. Okay? Now, let's talk in more detail and so on and so forth. As I was saying, the fitment is what it is for a bullet style. In my particular case, once I discovered that inserting it deeply, it was the best in terms of performance, I just dealt with the fact that it had to be shoved inside of my ear, and that's it. It was just a question of finding the right tip. Isolation is what it is. I mean, you can hear quite a bit of noise. And well, look, I guess you can't really ask much for $14. It is a pity that it's a fixed cable. I'm guessing that it wouldn't have been totally impossible to have made it with a removable cable, but I'm assuming that budget were the constraints were the reason, and they did a fixed cable. Having said that, the cable is very nice. I've got absolutely no complaints about the cable. It's a nice quality cable, doesn't tangle easily, very nice. It's a cable which is very similar to the cable that comes on the Moondrop SSP, SSR, and it's a nice cable. It seems the same as the Olás, but the Olás somehow has more life to it in terms of its, it's tangling up and so on and so forth. So it's not a removable cable, but the cable that it does bring is fine. Let's delve into what we want to know. I've got a couple of IEMs, as you can see here in front of me. Some of them within the exact same price as the Zero, some slightly more expensive. And excuse me, I've actually also got here the Olá. Oh, might as well just put it here. Okay. As of the more recent launches of Tanchjim, the philosophy in terms of the sound has been one of neutrality, and more vocal centric emphasis, bringing out voices, instruments, detail was the I am assuming has been the design premise for the latest Tanchjim offerings. I mean, this is no HANA 2021, this is no Oxygen where you have ample bass, and no, this is not what is being the philosophy here. More so in the Olá, which, there's one thing is being neutral, one thing is being lean. Neutral, in my understanding, it doesn't add anything to the sound. It reproduces it with the maximum fidelity and with the maximum ability to simulate what was recorded. Leanness, for me, it's actually detracting. It's taking you away. And the Olá in that aspect was a very lean IEM, especially in the bass region. So anything that was below 200 Hz was significantly attenuated, and it just lost all life. Yes, voices, vocals, males, females, instruments, technicalities, all of that was all very nice, but bass is a complement to the mids, and if there isn't enough bass there, at least in the right amount that was recorded in the song originally, then you're going to be taking away. It's going to become lean, and it's going to take away that fun, that engagement, that correctness, let's put it that way. And the Olá was a victim of that, so much so that not a lot of people were very happy with him as far as I'm concerned, and myself, I did a small mod to it, which was basically changing the, if you can see here closely, if you look closely there, the nozzle, the front nozzle vent, has been changed with another filter to increase the bass energy, the bass amount, and modified like that, the Olá becomes a really nice IEM. There's a nice amount of mid bass that's added onto it, and it becomes a nice IEM. Its other deterrent was obviously the price, which, I mean, at $40, it's competing with some seriously well-built IEMs, playing really well with no need to have all of this mods or adjustments made to them. And then finally, the shell was not exactly the best in terms of its user-friendliness, so it didn't have, or rather, it had quite a number of obstacles. Okay, this Zero is more favorable in terms of its fitment and shell design and so on and so forth, so it's not hindered by that. The price as well is spectacular. I mean, at $14, it's fine. It's really, really good. And in terms of sound, it also is, in my opinion, been very well executed. It's got a neutralish bass, and when you do look at the graph, and later on in the second part I'll show you the graphs, when you do look at the graph, you might even think that it's leaner than what it actually is in fact then capable of reproducing. And no, it's in my opinion, and with my music, obviously with more bass heavy songs, maybe there will be some lack of extra energy, but with what I listened and with the majority of things that I listened, I honestly did not find a song that I said that this wasn't being faithful or capable of giving me the minimum engagement that I required. So the bass, although graphically shows as being very neutral, very flattish, perhaps some might even consider it lean, it isn't. It's got more than enough guts to make it engaging. So overall, and in a in a nutshell, this is unquestionably a much better option than the Ola. Okay, and for that reason, I didn't include the Ola in this comparison, although I wanted to use it as a basis to establish the position of the Zero. So the Ola is out. What then do I have here as the IEMs used to compare it with? Well, people were expecting, perhaps, I think people were perhaps expecting me to put the Moondrop CHU, sorry, not the CHU, the Quark here, as it's got basically the same price, and okay, well, it will be the most direct competitor to the Zero. No, it isn't. Just the simple fact that although graphically there are some similarities, but just the simple fact that one is a 10mm and the other one is a 6mm, and even if they graph the same, the way that the bass comes across is completely different. It just made absolutely no sense, and I listened to it and I said to myself, no, I'm not going to compare it to that. Rather, I'm going to compare it to its bigger brother, older brother, more, I don't know, more well executed brother, the SSR. It's an IM that has gotten some love by some, a lot of hate by others. Why? Because it's bright sounding. You're also using a 6mm driver, and that brightness can become a little bit fatiguing. There's a lot of it's super detailed, and there are actually some reviewers which are big fans of it. Super detailed, loads of detailed retrieval capabilities, really nice in the technicalities department. But then tonality and tonality and timbre, then I think suffers slightly because of this overemphasis, of this excessive coloration of the sound. So female voices can sometimes sound a little bit more forward than what they should. There's a little bit of lacking of fullness in male voices. But I mean, it's a nice sounding IM, and it's got its cult following, but the main reason was that graphically these two are very similar. But again, and as I said earlier, because this is a 6mm and this is a 10mm, you notice that there's a big difference in terms of the bass quantity and quality. It's not a difference which is as significant as is if I was using the Quarks, and that's why I'm using this, but it's noticeable. The quality of the bass is very similar, quality, texture, speed, very similar, but the quantity is completely different. It's more displacement. There's gonna be more of it. Okay. Obviously, we're talking roughly $40 for the SSR. Okay, fine. It's got an amazing construction, all metal, a nice removable cable. It's got a lot of things going for it. how does it overall measure out with comparison to the Zero? The Zero is a superior IEM, period. It does everything that this does, but the fact that it's got more displacement in terms of area of the driver allows the bass to have the, the necessary energy to complement the equal amount of mids, upper mids presence that they both have, and so gone is that tendency of being shouty or overly bright or overly emphasized or too colored. So the SSP, sorry, I'm sorry, is beaten by the Zero in my opinion. Okay, then at roughly the same price, we have an old favorite of mine, and I put it here because of that, which is the CRA, the CCA CRA. $15, removable cable, more of a V-shaped signature, a little bit of a slightly recessed mids. But it made sense to put it here because these two actually complement each other. Okay, for the price of an SSR, you can buy these two, for example. Let's put it that way. This one is hindered by the fact of that 5K peak maybe being a problem for some, while over here you have no such issues, no sibilance. I mean, keeping in mind, please, $14, huh? So no sibilance that is really worthwhile mentioning. Everything is just very, very coherently done, very balanced. It's very smooth. There's a smooth rise of the pin again, peaks at around 3K and then stays almost flat all the way up to about 8, 9K. Very nicely executed, very nicely executed. This, on the other hand, is more V-shaped, like I said, but it's got nice sub-bass focus. It's got that rumble that this one hints at having, and it's just a nice complement to the Zero, and it costs, like I said, $15. The other one that I got into this equation here is the CHU, the Moondrop CHU. Another Moondrop, priced at $20. This one has been modified by me, that's why it's got removable cable. So look at it and remember, this is a non-removable cable. Yes, quality of construction is better. Yes, it's got very detailed sound, but it just sounds lean in the bass, and that's where the Zero edges this out. Although graphically, when you look at the graphs of these two, this seems to have more bass for some reason which I just cannot really explain, but I know that it's down to the fact that I'm able to insert this nice and deep into my ear, and that's why, for example, an Etymotic, an ER2 XR has got the ability of reproducing bass the way it does. The fact that it can be inserted deeply, it allows the bass, which is apparently neutralish, lean, let's put it that way, to have more power, more presence than it does in the CHU. So, considering that they have, in my opinion, very similar technicalities, very similar soundstage, imaging, almost very comparable soundstage, imaging, timbre and tonality, also very comparable, although the Zero edges out the CHU. It's in the bass frequencies and the way that the bass is reproduced in the Zero that it is able to beat the CHU and overtake the CHU in terms of its sound. Obviously, when you consider the fact that this brings some spring tips, the cable that it brings, the stock cable, is also not a bad quality cable, although it's fixed. Better quality of construction. Probably this will fit more people in an easier manner. It's going to be a tough one to choose between these two. All right. Another one which I thought made sense to compare it, and again the price is almost very similar, is the KZ EDA. This is probably one of the better tuned IEMs of this latest generation from KZ. Obviously, very, very noticeable that the amount of bass energy here is totally different to the Zero, but this is a well executed V-shaped signature, well executed, and again, in my opinion, I think it's a nice complement to the Zeros. The Zero being more correct, more audiophile, if you want to call it that way, this being more fun and engaging. So they complement each other very nicely, and for basically the price of, again, of an SSR, you can buy these two, not an issue. Vocals are very nicely done here. The Zero, in my opinion, does it slightly better, especially the female vocals. Detailed retrieval is superior here. Soundstage and imaging very equal. Bass here more fun because of the extra quantity that he has. So stuff like EDM just comes across in a much more engaging, fun manner than it will over here. Although, as I said before, and I'll repeat it again, I was and I am very surprised at how good the bass on the Zero is. Okay, so that's out of the way. Let's go now I'm going to leave the other Zero for last. This is the Tangzu, the Shiminli. Again, obviously, this is 3 times the price of the Zero, so you can see that being reflected in the shell. It's a nice metal shell, removable cable. The sound is a darker sound than the Zero, more mid-bass focused, and it's just the way that the mids are then done. And again, when you look at it graphically, you don't get that perception. That makes the stock Shiminli be a little bit too, not bright, but a little bit harsh. And I've performed a mod where I changed the nozzle filter for a 500 grade filter. That takes away that harshness and makes the Shiminli, in my opinion, much better. Also makes it peak closer to 3K. It just improves the IM. It's not that it was badly executed by Tangzu. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm sure that Tangzu had their idea. They have their own house sound, and they wanted to implement it in the Shiminli the way that they did. But there is margin to make it better. How do these two compare? For me personally, I choose the Zero. Why? The way vocals, the way the whole mids, upper mids and treble is executed in the Zero is much nicer than in the Tangzu. Much nicer. It's smooth, detailed. You almost forget that you're listening to such a cheap IEM. Because of the way that it just brings everything. I mean, so many songs, especially a lot of female voices, are so well executed that it's actually quite surprising. Candace Springs, Forbidden Fruit, beautiful. I mean, the Zero does it really well. Deja Vu, Will Downing, again, perfect. Let me see another female Diana Krall, perfect as well in my opinion. Even stuff like Sweat, the JK Viv remix from Princess Treasure, which is a more dynamic, more lively song. It's more pop genre, let's put it that way. It's done very nicely in the Zero, and the Shiminli really only edges it out in having just a little bit extra of impact, of that mid-bass impact. That's all. Unconditional from Soul Persona, I prefer the way the Zero does it as well. What else? Taste of Honey from Patricia Barber, much nicer as well in the Zero than on the Shiminli. And please guys, keep in mind, this is what I like to listen to. Maybe you'll listen to it and you'll think the Shiminli is superior. So this is very much with my music library, with what I like listening to, and as always, I'll post my library so you guys can go through it and see if there's anything there that you identify yourself with and can use to listen to music. I apologize if I don't go into so much details as to, go listen to this song at this particular minute or that particular minute, because I feel that's detracting a little bit from the simple pleasure of listening to music. The way I look at it is, you should put the earphones on, decent source to play music, and there should be engagement straight away. And if there's that engagement, that's a good thing. Yes, you can then go and look for certain details in specific parts of songs and so on and so forth. But if that is all that you're after, and if you're just looking for, oh, at minute 2:35 you have to listen this on that particular song, otherwise that IM is not good. It's not really the way I think, because you know, you might actually have amazing ears, and a particular IM might not just fit your ear in the most ideal manner, and you won't hear that detail. And then another person will hear that detail that maybe doesn't even have the capacity to listen to music as good as you. And so this, you know, it can make things a little bit on the dodgy side. So as a finalizer for here, the Shiminli, the Zero for me is superior to the Shiminli. It is. Okay. Finally, we go to the one which is the reference. I'm guessing now I can say it that way, which is the 7 Hertz Zero. And as I said on my review of the 7 Hertz Zero, there's very little that I can falter. Very little. I mean, there's absolutely nothing really that I can falter. And if I do want to really nitpick, I wish there was just another 2 dBs more of bass energy below 100 Hertz. That's all. Which actually, by the way, I've modified one, and I've done that to it. I've given it that extra 2 dBs. But for the sake of this review, obviously I'm using a stock one. The Zero from 7 Hertz is or has been flawlessly tuned, and the people involved in it definitely know what they're doing. Period. They've made sure that vocals, male, female, come across correctly. They've made sure that the bass that's needed to make those vocals sound properly is there in the right amount. And although very similar to, for example, the CHU, the Zero completely annihilates the CHU. I know it's a strong word to use, but it's the truth. If this was, until a couple of months ago, kind of the reference and kind of the bringer of some headaches to the cheaper brands, the CHU has been superseded by the Zero. The Zero is a better IM, period. And I mean, I didn't even bother putting here the Japan layer, because again, they cannot keep up with this. This is an IM that, as I was saying, in terms of its vocal execution, it's perfect. Bass is there in the right amount. Extension is there again in the right amount. You never really get a feel or a sensation of sibilance or aggressiveness or harshness. It is really, really well tuned, and for $20 you really couldn't ask for more. Coupled to that, you have a well-built shell, sturdy, removable cable, good accessories package, good, decent cable. I mean, honestly, $20, this is the reference. Would it be beaten? I don't know. Probably, maybe. I don't know. But the truth is, this is a reference. This is what other companies should now be looking for. Obviously, this is an IM which has been focused on a more correct execution of sound, or reproduction of sound, let's put it that way. So if you like listening to very bass heavy music and you just want to, this is not the IM for you. I mean, go buy something like the EDA. The EDA will probably satisfy you more. This is not the IM for you. How does let's put it, the King handle the Zero? Well, in terms of its overall construction, it's a 7 Hertz one, period. Better built, better fit, removable cable, more sturdy, more solid. So that's a win there. Price. I'm not gonna give the price to the Tanchjim, although it's cheaper, simply because this, for the extra $6, offers way more than what that offers. So again, price, a win for here. Sound, and that's where maybe now I'm going to cause some controversy. That's not the intention, but maybe I might cause some controversy about what I'm about to say. Sound, I think that the Tanchjim ZERO holds its own very well. There is really nothing, honestly, there is really nothing that I can say that the 7Hz ZERO beats the Tanchjim outright completely, no questions asked. Not even in the bass, where it's the only little minor nitpick that I have on the 7Hz. Not even there does the ZERO from Tanchjim stay behind so much. With my library, I found it was very much a song dependent thing. It was very much what song I was listening to, and there were songs that sometimes on the 7Hz the bass was felt more. I could feel the bass there, more present, more it was there. And other songs, it was actually the Tanchjim that got the better of the equation. Mids, I think both of them have equally well executed mids, and once again that applies itself to the upper end, to the treble, the presence, and there are songs that the ZERO from 7Hz will do it better. Other songs that the ZERO from Tanchjim will do it better. Technicalities, soundstage, I think they are about equal. Imaging, I'll give the imaging to the 7Hz. Tonality, again, very similar. Timbre, very similar to each other. I mean, they honestly, and I just don't know how to sometimes convey certain things. I like the words, I like the means of expression. Sound wise, these two IEMs are excellent. Which is the one that makes the most sense to purchase, in my opinion? The 7Hz. Why? Removable cable, better, easier fit. That's why this wins. If you want to buy another IEM which has got very comparable sound to the 7Hz, although with a different fit and form factor and so on and so forth, and that will perhaps surprise you more often than the 7Hz will, definitely do get the Tanchjim. I'm not going to say get one over the other. Get both. They're both cheap. Get both. If you can only afford one, then definitely just the 7Hz. But if you want to have a side grade, Tanchjim is really worth it. It really truly is a worthwhile IEM. And the good thing about, be it the Tanchjim ZERO, be it the 7Hz ZERO, be it the KZ EDA, is the fact that they are all so cheap that for the price of other contenders that I have in front here, like the SSR, the Shiminli, for the price of those, you can buy any one of these two. And maybe with a little bit of luck, you might even be able to buy the three, and you have three very interesting side grades, two different flavors, more audiophile on this end, more fun and engaging on that end, but nevertheless interesting and worthwhile having. Anyway, guys, as always, like and subscribe. The second part, I'll be showing you the graphs just for a quick comparison so you can have an idea of how things stack up. But the takeaway message from this review is that it's a pity that certain things weren't taken into consideration by Tanchjim, namely removable cable and a slightly more user-friendly fit. But on the other hand, they kind of redeemed it by giving us an IEM that plays music very well and is a way better IEM than the Ola is, and makes much more sense. I mean, for the price of an Ola, you can buy three of these almost. As compared to what would probably be its direct opponent, which is the Moondrop Quarks. The Moondrop Quarks cannot hold its own against the Tanchjim, in my opinion. Cannot, period. The other takeaway message about this is be prepared to have to fit this deeply into your ears. You do that and this will amaze you. You cannot do that and this will just be another earphone. But if you're able to deep fit the Tanchjim ZERO, you will be impressed by its sound. Alright, anyway guys, thank you, take care, see you soon, bye bye. Hi guys, and this is the graph section for the Tanchjim Olá, and as you can see straight away, here is the Olá. Nice and flat bass response, no bleed, no nothing, very nice. This here sometimes happens. I've got no reason why. Sometimes it's tip related. It's just some niggle. I don't know. It just occasionally happens. Anyway, this is the curve. Smoothish pinna gain, if not a little bit on the excessive side in terms of its overall size. I mean, we're talking 12 dBs of pinna gain, a little bit too much, but listening to it and hearing the IEM, it's actually not as bad as it looks. So it kind of peaks at 3, plateaus all the way through to about 8, and then drops, and then it's extension past. As I mentioned during the review, the CHU would have been my apologies. The Quarks would have been the first obvious choice, but I decided no, that was not the one I was going to compare it to. So I compared it to the Moondrop SSR, and as you can see there by the graph, the SSR is almost identical. The difference being it's a 6mm driver, so although it seems like the bass is the same, no, the bass of the Zero is substantially more, and not only more, but of even better quality. And of course, the pinna gain of the SSR is even more so. Yes, it could be a little bit too much for some people. Some people did actually complain about it, but nevertheless, it does have its cult following. It does have its fans, and I'm not going to say that I dislike it. No, I don't dislike it. So that's it compared to the Moondrop SSR as compared to the Tangzu Shiminli. You can see that they kind of have, they trade blows here in the bass, and what you do notice is that the bass of the Shiminli is slightly more impactful, although I really didn't notice that it was that much more deeper. It just gave an overall thicker presentation to the IEM. They peak more or less roughly at the same level in terms of their pinna gain, so 2.53, but their pinna gain is around 12 dBs, and then the Shiminli drops off, and this is the area where you notice that it's significantly darker sounding. It's more laid back sounding. However, for some reason which I just cannot understand, in this format, this 5K area here just stands out a lot. It not only makes the Shiminli sound somewhat off, but it can be quite harsh, especially when you start increasing the volume. So it doesn't scale what I would consider in the most ideal of manners, and that's why I actually made a little mod to it, and it did away with that, and it sounds, in my opinion, way better. And I know a few people have tried the same mod and they also agree with that. Anyway, the Zero is a better sounding IEM overall, in my opinion. More open, more correct, better vocals, better instrument representation. So that's that. Compared to, yesterday when I was mentioning the KZs, I mentioned the CRA, and then I mentioned the EDA Balanced, and I forgot to mention also the EDX-Ultra. I like them both. Perhaps I like the Ultra just a little bit more. Yeah, they are both of them. You can see that they are very similar. The Ultra just, it has more extension and tames more that peak there. Either one of them compared to the Zero obviously have substantially more bass power, more bass presence, more bass slam, and it's very well, it's very decently matched with the amount of energy that they have them past 1K. Of the two, look, honestly, it's you take your pick. Yes, the Ultra, you do notice it's got a little bit more sparkly, a little bit more air. So in that aspect, it's probably more along the lines of the Zero. But as I mentioned, this is not a question with regards to these. This is not a question of one being better than the other, but more of a side grade. The Zero, in my opinion, will be the more correct sounding one. These will be the more fun sounding ones. Okay, that's that. Another one which I mentioned as well, and I thought made sense to kind of explain the tuning philosophy that Tanchjim has been experiencing lately, is the Ola. And you can see by the graph of the Ola straight away that it is not neutral, it's thin, it lacks bass, and although it's very well done past, you know, the 1K area, it's got a nice you know, graph which translates in fact to really very good vocals and instruments and so on and so forth. It's just, this is the problem area. It's very thin, and the Zero is a superior IEM because of that. Even in modified format, which substantially improves the Zero, and this is the modified Ola. As you can see now, it's got a bass which matches almost the Zero. Even this whole area has now been plateaued more nicely. Even in this format, I still would think that the Zero would edge out the Ola slightly. And I think a lot of the success in terms of how it sounds of the Ola, of the Zero, in my opinion, is the fact that I am able to actually insert it deeply into my ears. I think that's the main reason why it is sounding so good, and it sounds way better than what the graph would lead you to think. Finally, the king of the Zeros, well, at least the king of the Zeros for now, which is the 7 Hz Zero, and that's the graph of the 7 Hz Zero. And you know, again, they trade blows in the lower frequencies. They trade blows. There are instances where the 7 Hz will be better. There are instances where the Zero is better. But overall, they trade blows very nicely. You know, some has more mid bass with some songs, and the other, it's very much an equal match here. And up top here then is where I guess the magic of the 7 Hz happens. Although you see less energy, when you actually listen to it, no, it's not less energetic. It is as energetic, if not even more energetic than the Tanchjim Zero. I mean, honestly, in terms of vocals, mids, ability to create air, space, you know, stage depth, width, height, imaging, positioning, resolution, everything, the 7 Hz is something which is quite impressive. And impressive to the same extent is how the Tanchjim is able to keep up with it, very much so. And honestly, it's only true to that downfall is the fact that it's fixed cable. Well, not its only downfall, but its downfalls with regards to the 7 Hz, because 7 Hz, I mean, honestly, I'm impressed that they've been able, that how they've been able to price it at that amount, $20. It's, you know, detachable cable, very well tuned, nice accessories, nice well-built shell. It fits well. You know, it's really a no-brainer if you can only afford one of them. If you can afford, I would consider them again side grades to each other. In terms of sound, pure sound, I do not think that the 7 Hz Zero is outright beating the 7 Hz, the Tanchjim Zero. They are very, very equal, both capable of, you know, trading blows very nicely. And yeah, that's it, guys. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.